Hello everyone. So what we're gonna do is I have a lot of helpers here. Little Miss is here. Do you want to say hi, Missy? No? My mom is here, Grandma. She's gonna sketch with us too. And then Monkey's here. And I don't know if he's actually gonna draw the flower, but they've actually already started. Do you guys want to see? They're ahead of the game. But Little Miss has got her sketch going. We're gonna draw that yellow flower that you saw on the screen. And Grandma's going already. And Monkey has nothing. So this is the flower we're gonna draw. If you wanna sketch along, if you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. Sorry, I know was crazy. I'm gonna try and keep my sketchbook at the top of the screen so you guys can all see it. But I do have people trickling in still. I'm gonna start just with ballpoint pen because last time I did the live, it was really hard to see the pencil. So I'm just going to be using ballpoint pen. I'm still kind of waiting. People are still trickling in. But this is the rose that we're gonna draw. It's really pretty and it smells really good. Too bad that this doesn't have smell-o-vision, right? All right, so here we go. I'm gonna start off by drawing this shape right here is more oval. So that's what I'm gonna start off with. This is gonna be hard for me with this angle. So I just kind of sketch an oval and with mine, you're gonna see it more than probably yours because you're gonna be using pencil. So it's not a big deal. But I first start with an oval, same like tilt as the flower. And then I'm gonna add the petals. Now the petals are like oval, but when you're drawing them, go ahead and kind of hold back on your pencil like this. So when you're drawing, your pencil kind of like your pen gets like wiggly lines because that's the whole beauty of nature. You can, to create those crazy little lines, you can hold back on your pen. So I know my hand's all over this, but I'm gonna start by just doing the petals in. And I do a lot of like lines at once because then I can pick whichever line I really want, and I use the other lines as like shading lines or shadows. Look, I drew this petal right here already, and this one goes over it. So, there's just things like that you kind of mess up with when you're just drawing with pen, which is no big deal. No one's gonna notice but you guys after I told you. So I'm just sketching in some petals. It doesn't have to be perfect. Are you erasing yours, Miss? With this one right here, do you see how that petal kind of like flips over? So all I did was I drew this line here, and to make it look like it really flips over, I'm gonna add some so this is the flipped part. I'm gonna add some shadow under here. And it's gonna make it kind of feel like the petal is like folding over, if that makes any sense. So I am just coming in here. I've drawn just a few, and now I'm gonna add some shading just because then I can like figure out where I'm at exactly. And sometimes I like to add shadow as I go, especially when I'm drawing with pen, just so I can figure out where I'm at. And even if I kind of messed up a little bit or it doesn't look exactly how it's supposed to, it's not going to be a big deal. Again, nature is kind of like forever changing, so that's kind of like why I like to draw it the most because it's not perfect and it's not going to look perfect and it's no big deal. You're just trying to capture the moment, really.
Grandma,
What's with
do you know where's Carter?
I think Carter. Monkey wins. Monkey.
Are you drawing your flower, Missy?
No,
No?
I'm not.
What are you going to draw now?
Still the flower because I didn't draw it good.
Oh, you're redrawing it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm just adding my petals as I go. And shading as I go. I'm skipping some petals. Some are not even in the right spot. And you know what?
Mom?
That's okay. Yes, sweetie.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'm taking you a hug.
You want to give me a hug? Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna finish up the top right here. I'm gonna split it and make two, just so it looks more full. I think I cheated a lot in this, but you know what? That's okay. So I've got my flower pretty much done, and now I'm gonna add the leaves. With the leaves, I just think of them as kind of like one shape, and the oval has 2 points at the end. So that's pretty much all I'm gonna be drawing. I'm gonna figure out where the stem comes at in the flower. I'm gonna pull that down in just a fine, like little line. And then I'm going to, there's some little leaves, I draw them in lightly. And they're just little wispy leaves down here. I'm not drawing them in heavy because I'm gonna go over with these flower or leaves. So I'm gonna come back in here and I'm gonna draw this stem coming up, this one right here. And I'm gonna push it off the page because my sketchbook's small and I don't have, you know, enough paper for that, or enough whatever. So now I'm going to draw in this leaf. I've drawn this leaf in, and I'm gonna come in here and kind of like exaggerate the little points because that's the most unique characteristic of the leaf. And then I'm gonna add some shading. And normally when I shade, I don't really look at the object. I know that's silly, but I always start at the smallest area first, like down here, and I'll shade up, and I'll shade from this tip up here, and I'll shade down, and then I'll add some shading in. And when I shade, I think most of you know, I'm not like an actual precise shader. I scribble a bunch, so I just add some value, and then my watercolor will do the rest. Ooh, Missy, that looks really good. Ooh, good job. I don't know. I think he
may not.
Yeah, I think he got done. I think he's just done.
He didn't draw yet.
No, he didn't.
Why?
So that's just one leaf. We're gonna put one leaf behind it. Again, I'm gonna like sketch out this. They have like jagged edges, so I like to add those characteristics in. And then since this leaf is in front of this leaf, I'm going to darken up its edge here, and then add some shading behind it with my pen. I just do lines, and then I come back in and I'll add some scribble along the edge to kind of like, I don't know, make it look like it's not such a harsh line from one leaf to the next. We're gonna do this leaf over the front. It comes off this stem too. So I'm gonna draw in the vine, like the vein of the leaf. Is that what it's called, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
The vein.
Yes.
And then we'll add in the edge. And I can't really see the bottom too much, but I can see this part. And so that's how that leaf looks right there. So anything behind or in the background is gonna be darker. So I'm gonna darken it up. This one I can kind of see these, what do you need? Grandma? Nothing? This is, I You can kind of see like the veins in it. So I'm gonna make those more pronounced. So it just looks like it's, you know, got something else going on. Bring some interest to it. I'm gonna darken this guy up down here. Again, since it's closer to the flower, I'm gonna shade that because it's underneath and behind. And because it looks funny with two, I'm gonna add a third. I don't even know if it has a third, but I just am doing it anyway. It's called artistic license. Do what you want. Did you bring Grandma her drink? It's hot out here. All right. So I'm gonna pull the stem down. This is the stem right here. And I think I'm gonna do one more like leafy section, maybe something like this, but not as elaborate. So I kind of just make it up as I go along. So I'm just gonna pull the stem down as far as I want, because it's my sketchbook. And I'm trying to keep this in the frame, but not on my photo, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'll just draw this one since it's right here. What pen are you using today? This is the Kara's Customs. Oh man, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it has this. It's different because it has this click. You have to like twist and click, and it's not gonna like, even if I push on it, it's not gonna undo. I don't think that's really important, but it was just cool. It is aluminum, and the cartridge that I'm using is the one that I reviewed on my YouTube channel, and it's just has really good light fastness, better than what it comes with, which is a Parker refill. So I'm just going to kind of fake some leaves on this side. Like I said, I might mimic this threesome right here. So what I do first when I'm drawing like a cluster is I draw the whole stem all the way up to the tip of like the last leaf. So wherever I want that. I think I'm gonna let it, I know I'm taking this off the page for you. Maybe I should just put it down here. I'm gonna let it flow into the next page. This is how I get my pages to kind of like flow together. So I'm gonna do that. And then these leaves have these jagged kind of like edges. It's unique to them. So they're rose leaves, maybe?
They are.
I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
No, rose leaves have jags.
So, and then with these, since I'm seeing like the face of them, I don't know if that's really what it's called, but you know, the face of them, the front of the leaf. Am I back? I know I have poor connection. I'm closer to the router this time, so that kind of stinks. But these have little veins in them, so I'm trying to replicate that as best as I can. I mean, we're not perfect, and this is not a what is it, realistic, I mean, perfectly realistic sketch. So I've just kind of mimicked those veins. And then I'll do the same with the other three. Maybe this one is smaller and it comes off this way. So I draw the vein all the way out, and then I mimic those kind of like sketchy lines like that. Maybe I'll just do two. I like two.
Mom.
Yes, miss?
Look.
Ooh, that looks so good. Don't erase it. And then I'll do the same here as I'll draw these little lines.
It's pretty, Rosie. Do your color. Missy, color your leaves.
There you go. Do the lines like that. So all I'm gonna do now is shade. And when I shade, I take each section, and that's how I shade the leaf. So I start here with this section, I kind of outline it a bit, and I pull from this corner. I do this square thing, kind of like mimicking the shape. I don't know, it's just how I do it. It's my style, I guess. And thanks. And then I'm just going to kind of like scribble away at adding some value. In each little section, each little veined out section that I've made. Yes, miss. Ooh, I like your leaves. Can we show them when we're done? How good you did? Okay. So again, the pen is not like perfect. In any of my sketches, it's not perfect. It's just kind of a guideline, because when I go and add watercolor on top of it, then I don't have to add as much shading or value, like tonal change. Since these leaves are all green, you know, it's green, I don't have to add different color greens as much because I've already done some pen shading. So, and this is kind of how I do the shading. I copy the shape of the object. It's just kind of my style, I guess. And it's a lot of scribbling. I'm gonna go back in because I did sketch my lines in and kind of like darken them up and pick the line that I want. And here I mentioned earlier, when there's a leaf behind a leaf, I am going to outline that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shadow right here and pull that outline out. Is it a lot of work drawing, Missy? So I've pulled the line out, and now I'm just going to do the same thing that I did earlier and create those like square type situations. And add some shading. I think a bug just went in the crease in my book.
We'll have to put some itchy cream on it.
So something like that. Love hearing the birds in the background. Yeah, I almost just want to come out here and take a sound clip of the birds and use it in my background on YouTube. So that's what I have so far. I think that's where I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to start adding watercolor. So I did all that with pen, no pencil. I have, what are they called? Mapped out lines, kind of. You know, they're kind of all kind of in there, and I'm going to use them. I'm going to paint, and it's not going to be a big deal. I am using a Sakura water brush in small. I do have a field note size book, so it's a tiny, tiny book. So I do use small things like a tiny palette and a tiny tip of a water brush. For travel, I didn't bring any of my regular brushes. I also have a rag here. I'm trying to put it all on the screen for you. Instagram really needs to get landscape mode. And then, of course, I used my ballpoint pen. So if you're just kind of popping in, then you know what I've done so far. This is a yellow rose that I clipped from my mom's garden. So first, I start with my lightest color first. In watercolor, I do a lot of layering. So I'm just going to start. My palette is a mess. Can you all see kind of that? Okay, so I'm just going to start with the lightest color first, and I tend to use a lot of water. So I'm just going to plop it on there. So I just fill the whole circle first, and then I go somewhere else. I just leave that to dry, and I move on to the next part. So I'm going to want to mix up green, and again, I'm starting with my lightest color. I do have green in this like square, so I just add a little bit of yellow to it and some water. And I'm going to move on to just painting everything else, all the leaves, just green. It's not like, I'm not perfect. I do go out of the line sometime. I don't care. It's my sketchbook. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant for practice. And if you're not going to actually practice in it, then you're not going to get any better. Just saying. A lot of people ask me, how are you so good at this? Because I do it all the time. It's a lot of practice. I wouldn't say it's really, I don't think it's talent. People say you're so talented, but it's really just practice. And when you use one kind of like supply over and over and over, you get pretty good at it. So once I've done that, I did add like a lot of water to this flower. So I'm just going to pick some up because I added a lot. And now what I'm going to do, I need to remember that I'm in the Midwest and then my paper doesn't dry very fast because in Colorado it dries really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a darker yellow. If you don't have a darker yellow, like yellow ochre or something like that, then all you need to do is add a little bit of brown to your yellow and it'll be just fine. And all I'm going to do is take that darker yellow and go over the areas where I added the shadows. And right now, since the watercolor is still wet, it's going to bleed a little bit and it's going to blend itself, which is really cool. I like working wet on wet. And so all I'm doing is touching those areas that, again, I've added that little bits of shadow to. And if I feel like it's just not blending enough, then I can take my yellow again and I can come back in and blend it more. And then I try and let that dry.
And in the background, you hear a cardinal.
Is that a cardinal?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I've done something here, so I'm going to go somewhere else. So I'm going to go back to my green, and I'm going to use a darker green. This I added the yellow to, so I'm going to add olive green to it a bit. And this is like my middle green. I kind of think of it as I'm doing light, like a light color first, then a medium color second, and then the darkest color third. And then I pretty much stop when I've done all three of those. So same thing. I am going in and I am painting all the dark areas with that like darker green. Nothing fancy. I'm not even really precise. I'm not like a clean painter. I just like slop it on. And again, because it's still wet, yours might not be wet. But if you're in the Midwest, it'll still be wet. It kind of blends itself, so you don't have to go back and blend it, which is really nice. And the stem is I don't know, I just kind of go over the stem too. So because everything else is pretty wet and I want it to dry, I'm going to do the background. And I normally use blue or something like that in the background. You can use, oh, you know what, let's do something crazy. Let's do a different color. So I don't have a lot of mixing space on my palette, so I'm trying to figure it out. But I want to keep it bright, I guess. So I'm going to use this orange color. It's, I think it's Spiral Scarlet or something. And I think I'm just going to slap that in the background. It's going to kind of turn like a peach color. You're going to try really hard not to get it on your green leaves. If you do, it's not that big of a deal. Red and green are complementary colors. So it's going to make your leaves pop. And since your flower is already yellow, it's already going to pop. See how bad of a painter I am? They're bleeding all together, which is fine. I kind of like that anyway, so... It's so hot, I'm sticking to the flower. So I'm just going to come in here and do a light wash. I do the same thing with the background as I do with the flower. I start light and I get darker. And I kind of just do that all over. To blend it out, with a water brush or with a regular brush, you can pick up your color and put it down, and then once you get to a spot where you want to start blending it out, you just add more water. So you either squeeze on your water brush to blend it out, or you dip your brush in your water and it squeezes it out or blends it out. And then I come back in and get a little darker and kind of make my way out. I gotta get the other side. This green paint right here was from like the other day. I just leave it. I don't like to use glue on my books because with watercolor, if your book is glue bound, sometimes it gets in the cracks over here, and then watercolor doesn't sit like on glue. So sometimes this happens in my journals, and I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I can see how it would bother some people. So I'm just doing the background. I just pick one side to be darker, trying to explain what I'm doing. It's sometimes really hard to paint and talk. It's much easier to do a voiceover. Then I don't trip over my words and get all like flustered, and I pick the right words to say. You know, I make myself look semi-good. All right, so I've kind of done the background. Do you see how I picked like one side to make darker? I might actually come in here and make this darker too and pull it this way more. But I also wanted to show you what my mom and my daughter did. So it's gonna get a hair shaky for a moment. I'm gonna try really hard to be. I'm gonna let mine dry and show you theirs because they didn't use watercolor. Oh, sorry. So this is my daughter's. Lovely, huh? She did fantastic. That's so cute. And then my mom was using color pencils. So she did that. Hers looks better than mine. It's so funny. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back, and what I was trying to say earlier was I normally think of an image if I'm going to add value to it or anything like that. I think of an image as having 3 tones. So it's going to have a light tone, a medium tone, and a dark tone. So right now we have a light and a dark, and now we need, a light and a medium, and now we need a dark. So for my yellow, I am going to mix a really dark brown into my gold color that I used. And I know that looks really dark, but I promise it'll be fine. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the back of the flower and work my way forward, because the back has the most shading going on. It creates depth. So, man, it's not even dry. It's still going to blend, which is fine. So what I'm doing is I'm going from the back, and when I work my way front, what's going to happen is with a water brush situation, you are going to lose some of the pigment. So it's that's why I like to work back to front, because when you lose the pigment, then it looks lighter, obviously. So I don't want it to completely go brown back there. So I'm adding yellow in to help blend it out since it's still wet. So I got a little bit deeper. So I'm doing the same thing with the leaves, is I'm just going a hair darker. And it's gonna be, I just added brown. Or what you can do, which is a really fun trick, is you can add purple to your blue, You can add purple to your green, and it creates a really nice dark green shadow. I love adding purple to any color, really, to create a shadow, or like a really dark blue, almost. I can't remember what that Daniel Smith color is that I have, but it's like navy, and it looks really good as a shadow. And again, just going over that one spot that I've shaded with my pen. My pen is my guideline. I kind of paint like I draw too, so it's pretty like loose, and I just kind of slop it on there and outline it, kind of thing, and then I'll go back in and I'll blend it out later. So you can see that that's very liney, but once I get this one in, I'll go back in and I'll kind of smooth it out. I clean my brush before I do that, and then I kind of go around it. and smooth it out so it's not so liney. Did you see that? Hopefully the camera picked that up and I didn't like lose connection or something. So now I'm getting more depth in my image and I really like that. I'm gonna do the same thing in the background. I like this I think it's Pyrrole Scarlet. It's an orangey red and I like that color. I'm not a, I don't know, true red fan. So this was a good find for me. Okay. I wanted to pull the color out here. I think I said that earlier. I just keep sticking to that poor flower. So I'm squeezing my brush and I'm kind of like blending out all the color that I had on it. And I'm gonna clean it. And cleaning it kind of also, I think the main reason I clean it is because it gets some of the water out that I just squeezed. So, and then I'm gonna add the darker I hope he doesn't come over here and do that. It's gonna be loud. Sorry for that. You won't hear the birds now. Okay, so I got a lot of pigment on there, so I'm going to squeeze out my brush, clean it completely so it's just water, and I'm going to take it and move it out away from my flower. Sorry for that crazy noise. This area right here looks funny to me, like it almost should be dark red. So, or that color. So I'm going to pull this color in. And then what I'm going to do is do a line here, like this. Clean my brush again, and then pull that out so it blends it out. Like that. How do you blend colors with this brush? With my brush, it's a lot of, the water brush has, like, have you ever used a water brush? You squeeze the barrel. So when I blend, I'm squeezing just a little bit to get clean water out, and then I'm kind of like scrubbing at the paper a bit, and it kind of blends it out. I'll kind of do it again here because I want this to be a little darker. So I'm going to pick up my color. It's pretty bright. At this point, there's not a lot of water. It's more pigment than water. I will show you my mom's in a minute. And then I'm going to paint a strip right there. I just paint the strip, clean my brush so I don't have any more pigment on it, squeeze it just like a hair, and then I'm going to take that and pull it out. Used to painting in Colorado, and with Colorado you have to use a lot of water, and here you don't, so it's a little crazy. So I'm going to show you my mom's. I know it's going to be shaky, and I'm going to try really hard not to. Oh wait, that's a better idea. Good job. She's smarter than I am. So this is my mom's. One of her favorite colors is purple. So I'm thinking that's why she chose her background. She didn't follow my tutorial at all. So maybe we should have followed her tutorial. But she did do the spiky leaves. Okay. She probably would have done that anyway. But this is my mom. She used colored pencil. So, you know, it's going to have obviously a different effect. Love the lavender. Watercolors. Love the lavender. That's one of my favorite too. Love purple too. Everyone likes purple. Is this just regular sketchbook paper or thick paper? This is like my mom's is really cheap sketchbook paper. Oh, well, Strathmore's not cheap. This is super old.
It is very old.
She has her maiden name on the front cover. Both are beautiful. So that's my mom's. I use Tomoe River paper. It's having a really hard time drying right now, but it will be okay. Again, if you guys did try this tutorial and you post it on Instagram, don't forget to tag me. And then also if you If you don't want to post it but still want me to see it, which I would love to see, just DM me and that way I can see it. And I'll post this right now after I get off, and I will use the hashtags so you guys can just copy them. All right, well, I think I am gonna go. And if this is something that you enjoyed, please check the description box and I'll have my Instagram listed below. And until next time, everybody, I'll see ya.